Hi, this is Ted Bowman with 6 Mile Tech. I'm the creator of the Entityform modules, and today I'm going to show you one example of how you might use the Entityforms module. We're going to create a editor application form and improve a process. So basically this will be for an authenticated user if they want to apply to become an editor. We're going to create a system for them to be able to apply, and we're going to create a system for the administrators to approve or deny that request, and we're going to do it all with Entityforms, rules, views, and field permissions, and this won't require any custom programming. So first off, to make the application form, which will be an Entityform type, we'll go to Structure, Entityform Types, Add Entityform Type. So first we have to label the form. We'll call it Editor Application. Give instructions. Please fill out this form to become an editor. We'll give them the reply when they submit it. The administrator will review your application. So for access settings, the other thing we need to set is make sure only authenticated users can submit this. And then if they try to resubmit, we're not going to allow them to. So let's save the entity form. And let's ask for a reason. Call it editor reason. And we'll make it be a list so they can choose. And we'll say good is one possible reason you'd be an editor. To be a good web citizen. An evil is one reason you might be an editor. To be an evil web citizen. Let's save that. And we'll make this a required field. Give them a reason. Tell us why you want to be an editor. We'll leave all the other defaults. And let's ask for more details. So you'll notice that this is the exact same field UI for making regular fields on regular content types. So say more details. And we'll make that actually a long text so they can give us a diatribe on why they want to be an editor. So again, give them some more help. Tell us more, and we'll also make this required. And let's ask for a link to their blog. So I have the link module installed. And this will be an optional field. And we'll validate the URL. We're not going to let them give a title. And let's go. We'll leave all the rest the same. So one thing I want to go back and do is change the URL that this form submits at. So go to the URL path settings and go to editor, make it editor-application. I'm going to copy that. So for now we have to actually put a menu item in. So let's look and see what the form looks like. You see here there's a submit link to our editor application, and it's pretty standard. Ask you why, yada yada yada, more details. We'll give a link to Google and submit the form, and we get our reply. Now to have somebody else actually fill out this form, we want to add a menu item. So let's go to structure, menu. We'll add it to the navigation. We'll paste the link we just put in there, and we'll put this editor application. Leave everything the same. Now when we look on the home page, their editor application, I've already actually submitted this form, so it's not going to let me do it again. So let's look at, this is a generic user. So now we're looking at the site as another authenticated user who's not the administrator. They have the menu item we just added for editor application, and we select, so we have the form here. We'll select, we want to be a good citizen, put some fake details in, and we'll give them a link to Google. Let's submit this form. Okay, so they're thanking us because we submitted this. So let's go back and look as the administrator. So logged in as the administrator now, we can go look at the submissions for this entity form. Go to structure, entity form types, and submissions. So we can see that there were two submissions, one by the admin and one by the normal user. So if we edit the one by the normal user, we can change any of the values that they submitted. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to add some fields for approve and deny that only the administrator will be able to see. So let's go to structure, entity form types again, and manage fields, and we want a approval field, and we're going to make it a list again, and we're going to just say approve. So we'll just have approve as one of the values and deny. We'll save those settings. And we'll make it required so that, actually we will not make it required. So if I save these, so if we want to look at the form again after we've added this new field, if we try to hit the submit link, it's not going to let us because we're not allowing people to do multiple submissions of this form. So what we're going to have to do is go look at the submissions that have already been there, and we're going to delete the one that we did. So now if I go back to the submission link, now we can see the approve or deny. So the problem with this now is if we delete the other user's submission, we'll delete the other user's submission. So if we want to look at the field, the form with the new field that we added, this is as the user, the normal user, not the administrator, we can see that the normal user can see this field, which we don't want them to be able to approve themselves. So what we need to do is go back as the administrator and go to Manage Fields for our form, and we want to edit the approval field that we just added. And because we have the Field Permissions module enabled, we can select Custom Permissions under Field Visibility and Permissions, and we're going to leave it as the default so only the administrator can change this field. You may want to have another role that can actually manage these applications and give the permission to them also, but for now we'll just say the administrator. So we'll click Save Settings. So now as we go in as the regular user again, we see that that field is taken away from them, which is what we want. So basically right now they can make a submission, they can't change the approval value, but we want an action to take place when they actually submit this form. So we're going to make a rule for that. If we go to Configuration and down at the bottom, Rules, so we're going to add a new rule, and we're going to call it Application, or call it Role Approve. And it's going to have to happen after somebody updates an existing entity form. So this will only happen when a form has already been submitted and somebody's editing it. So we'll save this. And so we need to add a condition, and we want to know that the type of the entity form is a particular value. So we're going to use this data selector here to select the updated entity form, and then we are going to select the type and hit Continue. So Rules knows what the possible values is for this type, so we're going to select Editor Application so we only affect our one form. Save that. So now we want to add a condition for the field. So we look at the field approval is approved. So we add the condition, and we want to do a data comparison, and we want to do the selector. We want to make sure we're getting the updated entity form, not the one before the save. So we'll hit that, and we'll hit the ... which means we're going to see other values associated with underneath the entity form. And now it's going to show us all the fields and properties. We want the field approval, and so we hit Continue. There's some errors, probably because I have some dev modules enabled. But so we hit field approval equals, and then we select the value. Rules knows what the possible values for this select list are, so we want approve, and hit Save. And so now we have the event, which is updating existing entity form, the data comparison of we want to make sure our entity form is of the type editor application, and the value of the approval field is approve. So now we want to add the action to give this user of the entity form a role. So we add action, look under user at the bottom, add user role, and it's going to ask us which user. So we want the user who originally submitted the form. So we select updated entity form, and then select user, and then we want to give them the editor role. So I'll hit Save. So that's basically all we need for the rule. We need the event, the two conditions, editor application and field approval being approved, and then the action being add the user role editor to the user of the entity form. So let's go back over and look at as the signed out user. You'll notice there is no top bar here because they don't have access to it. If they had the editor, they'd have the admin bar up here at the top. So that's how we'll tell if they're actually have been approved or not. So we go to the editor application, and we're going to actually submit it again for them. and we're going to give a reason they want to be an editor to be a good citizen. More details will be, I want to be a good editor. We won't add the link because it's not required. We'll submit it. So it says the message that we gave them, the administrator will review the application. So let's go as the administrator and review it. So if we go to structure, entity form types, editor application, submissions. So we want to edit this normal user submission. And we see that they gave us the reason I want to be a good editor, and the reason is to be a good web citizen. Sounds good to me, so let's select approve and save changes. So submission was saved. Now let's go back over to the other user, and we can see right now they are not an editor. If we reload the page, they are now the editor. So that's the basic functionality of it. There's probably a couple things extra you'd want to do. For one thing, when we look at as the administrator, we still have this submission for the editor application. And really, once we've approved and denied, we could probably just delete this submission. So let's go back into the rules again. And let's edit our role approve rule. So let's add another action to delete that submission. So if we go to entities, we'll go to delete entity. And so it's asking us which one we want to delete, and we want to delete the updated entity form. And click save. So right here, we have the action to add the user role, and then we have to delete the entity. It's probably important that delete entity is after add user, because we can't grab the user for the entity form if we've already deleted it. But let's look back at the submissions and delete this user submissions so we can add it again. So back as the user, let's actually go as the administrator and change this person's role back to remove the editor role so we can see that it works again. So if we reload it, we see that they're no longer the editor. We're at the starting point again. So we'll do the edit application to be a good citizen. I want to do good, submit the form. Let's go back as the administrator to look at the submissions. Actually, we'll look at the submissions for just this form. And we'll edit it. We'll see their response and we'll approve it. Save changes. And you'll see that now there are no submissions for this because we deleted the one we just approved. Let's look back at the user. And they are now an editor. We probably would want to remove the access to this editor application because they can do it again, but that's maybe beyond the scope of this right now. So basically we've set up a very basic editor application system to apply for the editor role, basically using 3 modules: entity form, rules, and field permissions. So this is just one example of what you could actually do with the entity form module and its integration with other modules like rules. And probably if I was going to do this as a more robust system, I would probably add a few things like sending an email to the user that says yes, you're approved, or sending an email saying no, you were denied. You could add another administration field like message to tell the user why they were denied or why they were approved. so that they would know what the status of their application was. So I'll hopefully be adding some more videos soon about examples of how to use Entityform, but for now, this is Ted Bow on Drupal.org, or Ted Bowman, and at 6 Mile Tech. So thanks for watching. Bye.